Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast, your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let these handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Now here are your hosts, Russ Morgan and Joey Murray.
Welcome. This is the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Your host, Joey the Italian Stallion Murray, joined as always by Russ the Idea Guy Morgan. So Russ, do you believe in magic?
It sounds like a song.
You ever seen a good magician's trick?
A good magician's trick. I don't know if I have, maybe.
Well, I'm not talking about sleight of hand here, because today we actually got to experience literally cash being created out of thin air.
Tell me more.
You were part of it. This was the highlight of our podcast with Chris Prefontaine, in my opinion. This guy literally provided you free coaching. You brought him an opportunity that you're like, hey, I think this can work. I want to see how we can do this creatively, this financing, help other people, and possibly make some profit out of it. And what happened?
Hey, free's my middle name. I love it. I love free.
I mean, literally over $100,000 opportunity on this podcast.
I'm excited about it. I'm again, I want to see it play out, but he ran through the numbers with me. We've learned a little bit about subject to in our Pace Morby interview a couple weeks back.
That's right.
Now Chris kind of brought it together because with Pace's subject matter, it got my brain to thinking. Then talking today with Chris, he had me thinking, wait a second, this is possible. And I actually have a deal really close to me that I might be able to take action on and put this to work. If you want to know what we're talking about, you're going to have to listen to this episode. Don't miss the fact that Chris has given me free advice, but also he's given us an opportunity to join him. So there's a link in our show notes, wealthaboutwallstreet.com/smart real estate. And you're going to follow me because I'm about to follow this path because I need to know how to get this buyer for this piece of property that he was telling me about. And he has a course. He says, I'm going to follow it. At least I'm going to be showing our intern shortly how to do that because I like someone else's time working for that money. But I think it's a great interview today. It's another way for us to put cash in our pocket, to take control, pick a path, get there faster. Joey, let's don't spend any more time on this. Let them hear the magic that you speak of with our interview with Chris Prefontaine. Joey, if I wanted to be an expert, I'm maybe not an expert, but I still wanted to be knowledgeable on the whole concept of the infinite banking process. And I went to community.wealthwithoutwallstreet.com. I got access for free because that's what you gave me because I'm listening to this podcast. What would I do in there in order to learn more?
Simple as pie. Go to the left-hand side, click on courses, and there you can find Infinite Banking 101 and Infinite Banking 201. Can't wait to see you on the inside.
That is at community.wealthwithoutwallstreet.com.
Welcome to the show. We had the distinct pleasure of having Chris Prefontaine with us. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Chris. You've got a lot of content, a lot of experience. I'm excited to learn about that, share that with our audience today. But, we could go back 30 years into when you started working and building homes and then started investing in homes. But I think what's probably relevant is that we're just coming out of this COVID crisis and people want to know, does your method, does your focus as it relates to real estate using terms, is it working during crises like what we just experienced? So tell me a little bit about how your business fared as we went into the February, March of 2020.
Sure. What was kind of trying, neat, exciting, and scared all one time was we built this model coming out of the '08 crash, and we built it to hopefully never have a challenge again with the storm, right? And then along comes COVID. Volume March, April, and May. So this is the 3 full months done, exactly tripled how many transactions we did around the country with our associates and ourselves. So we buy and sell and we teach others to do the same and we do it with them. So we got a good finger on the pulse on all the markets around the country, and it just cranked. And the reason is there's a bunch we can talk about, but one is, look, the banks are rightfully so tightening up, right? So you got a lot of buyers that can't get conventional financing; they just can't. And there's a lot of good buyers in that pool, so they love our methods. And what does that do to sellers? Same thing. They're kind of tied. I hear call after call saying, "Well, I guess I can't sell now," or "I guess I can't buy now." No, you can do both if you do it on terms. So that's my short answer.
So you're basically essentially educating people on what's possible amidst them kind of feeling constricted by everything around them.
Yeah, you used it, Joe. You said it right, because constricted, there's either like the old fight or flight, but what I saw during COVID is freeze. And it's not a good thing. I don't care if you're a buyer, seller, or business owner. It's the absolute worst thing you can do. I tell buyers and sellers, when do you think you're going to get more for your house, or when do you think you're going to get a better deal on a house? When there's less or more competition. That's just supply and demand. So don't wait for everybody else to go, okay, it's normal now. Like, jump on it now.
All right. So I'm listening to this and I say, okay, maybe it was COVID, maybe it was 2008, maybe it was something else, really made me start thinking twice about my own strategy financially. And I started to think, okay, there's maybe something else I should be doing. And I hear what you're saying. I say, okay, well, he's weathered one of the craziest storms of our time that we can look back and say, a lot of people constricted, a lot of people had issues through COVID. Tell me.
But he didn't just, what I heard, Joey, is that he didn't just weather it. He 3 times did. Yeah. So there's some things that we need to learn in there, right?
So I'm paying attention, basically. That's all I'm getting to. I'm paying attention, but I'm saying, okay, maybe I've got a full-time job somewhere else and I'm trying to find a way out. How is it that what you do, and we haven't even really gotten to that yet, is going to help me potentially get out from under this W-2 job that I'm maybe miserable at?
Okay, so great question on a couple fronts as I think of them. So one is, when I say we 3 times it, that's transactions, right? Now you're talking about people thinking, okay, what do I do? We had a huge influx, and still do, of people like that going, I'm in your community now, I'm part-time. How do I get this full-time? I've been home, I'm loving it. Or I don't want to go back to the flights, or I don't want to go back to the office. Like, that's happening in a big, big way now. So most students come to us with that goal even before COVID. Now it's just ramped up. So we help most people come in the community, start new or tack this on to an existing investing business, and we help them transition from full to part-time. That's most of the goals that we work with. Right, time-wise, just going to depend on how aggressive they get. That's all.
All right, so let's back it down and get the cookies at the lowest shelf, right? Joey loves hitting the gas pedal, and usually
let's get on with it. Come on.
Usually I'm riding on the back bumper trying to catch up. But so let's talk about, what are we talking about, Chris? So I know we're talking about real estate. I know we're talking about buying and selling, but specifically, what is the niche that you work in?
Yeah, so we call it terms. And so let me define that, because even investors that have been at this 22 years in big rooms go, I don't think I've heard all of this. So we purchase on a lease purchase when we're buying, or we purchase on owner financing. Those are our 2 most popular. And the owner financing is niched down even more. That's usually with free and clear property. So these aren't people that are having problems per se. They have a goal, whether it's tax-wise, estate planning, or price-wise. And when we buy those, we buy them principal only over time. So I don't care about price as long as I get my term. And so those 2 ways are super cool. The first one's good for a new investor because there's a $10 deposit written into the agreement, lease purchase. Simple.
All right, but wait a minute. I want to focus in on this owner finance deal. Is that okay? We do that, Russ?
Go ahead.
I just feel like that's such a unique thing I haven't heard about or heard much of. So let's say there's an owner financing deal. You're saying you're going and buying that deal from somebody that owns a house free and clear, and as long as you get your terms. So back that down even to even simpler terms.
Yeah, so usually it's someone that does not need the money now. Think about it. If they did, they probably would have pulled it out, right, in theory.
Right.
A third of the properties in the United States, roughly speaking, are debt-free. A third. That's a big pool to fish in. And so,
you know that, Russ? I've seen that statistic.
Yeah, it's within a few points of that. It's pretty cool. And then so most of them have this thing, call it ego, call it whatever, that they just want their price, period.
Right.
And so if I push it out 4 to 10 years, all day long, the way we exit deals, which we'll talk about, it's a 6-figure deal.
Yeah. So and I just got off the phone with the guy today. He's moved from South Dakota down to Florida, and he put his house on the market. And he was telling me about how a doctor came in, gave him a cash offer for $200,000 less than what he is. Now he's already moved. He wants out of there. Now $200,000 is a big hit, right? Now we're talking about a 15-20% hit on his house. But he's like, well, I responded. I gave him here's my cash price. I went up, probably 19% and said that's final offer, right? But it is kind of like people get like really hung up on the specific price because of pride, right? Well, those around me have sold their houses for this. I need to sell mine for this.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of, I think what you just described is probably because of COVID. There are a lot of people now making offers. They have some cash and they're making offers, and sellers are getting a little annoyed because they're trying to come in at 60 or 70 cents on the dollar. So right off the bat, they'll say, are you a realtor, or are you trying to sell my house, investor wise? And we say, no, we actually pay market value, sometimes higher. Let's talk about it. And then we just go through what their goals are.
So that was going to be one of my questions is how do you get people to start talking? Because it seems to me that that's the big thing. If they have that ego, you have to have some way to get them to start talking about what they'll take.
Well, easier now because of what we're going through with the chaos. But generally speaking, we work with expired listings they didn't sell in the market, or for rent by owners, or for sale by owners. And in those batches, we come across plenty of free and clear. If our leads are drying up, or we want to get more niched, or we want to up our deal flow, and same goes for our students, then we will target specifically free and clear. And the conversation is we can pay top value or a premium.
All right. So I want to keep on this subject matter, but a second ago, you also said for the person that's brand new, a lot of time lease purchase is the route that people get into. Catch us up to speed as to what a lease purchase deal type typically looks like for whenever you're getting into a deal.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you there's all kinds of scenarios, over leverage exactly what's owed, but let's build in some equity to this deal. And by the way, the reason I said that specifically, Russ, is if you're doing owner financing and you're doing no money down, you can't expect the seller in 99.9 out of 100 cases to then pay their own transfer tax. You're not giving them any money up front. So we pay that. So for a new investor, they might not want to do that up front. On the lease purchase, it's different. Let's say Joey's my seller, and he has a house worth $300. We agree on that. We say, yeah, it's about $300. And he has a mortgage with $250,000 balance. So he's got $50,000 that he thought he could get, and especially now he's not selling. We say, all right, Joey, we will guarantee your $50,000 and pay off your loan on or before the end of the term. That loan won't be $250,000 anymore. But that's our benefit because we're just guaranteeing him his $50,000. And we're going to take care of all your maintenance, all your repairs. We're going to pay the underlying debt as soon as we install our buyer in your home who needs time to qualify. And so Joey's all set. Joey gets rid of the debt or whatever his goal is there, knows that his 50 is coming down the road, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever we structure for a term. And then we benefit from what? Principal pay down. Right. That's the beauty of it. Markup in the home in almost every case. And then a monthly spread. So if his mortgage payment was, on the example, $1,500, I'm going to go to the market at, say, $1,800, example. So we create, the last piece of this is we create 3 paydays every single deal. Money up front from the buyer, so we know they're a buyer in this series. Monthly spread, small, 2, 3, 4, 500, maybe 1,000. And then the back end is big because of the markup and the principal pay down. But those average for us around $75,000 per deal, all 3 paydays.
And just so I'm clear on that process, that's something you're taking over their existing mortgage?
Okay, so yes, but I say that what we teach is very specific. We're going to make the payment on your behalf because we're not assuming it. We're not taking over. It stays in their name.
Right. It's not assumed. It's just subject to.
Subject to would be if we bought it and did that. This is just a simple lease. The deed doesn't change hands.
Oh, okay.
So do you have a servicing company that is handling that transaction?
Good question. We handle it because we've got the staff to do so, Russ, but there are escrow companies that will collect the money, pay the mortgage, and dump the difference in your account. Yeah, if you want to do it that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha. So you're not, in that case, taking over the mortgage. You're just entering into a lease transaction or lease agreement and then turning around and leasing to purchase to the end user.
Correct. And so in that agreement, it says that we're going to pay, in most cases, that example I gave you certainly is one. we were going to pay the exact mortgage. We were going to pay it direct to the bank.
Right. Is that referred to in the industry as a sandwich deal? Is that what I'm?
Correct. Yeah, and you can't do those in Texas. You can do every other method we use in Texas, but you just can't be in the middle.
Yeah. No, I get it. All right. Now let's move back to owner finance. I thank you for letting me catch up with that. You said something, Joey skipped right over the top of it. It is one of those, I mean, you're in Rhode Island. One of Joey's favorite movies is Dumb and Dumber. So I think Cranston, Rhode Island. And Joey definitely has the line where he doesn't pay attention or listen very much. So I'm going to go back to the owner financing segment of this. So let's talk about a deal. So give me the last deal you worked on with terms and just walk us through the numbers, sort of like you did that one, because it'll help me and probably the person listening to you be able to figure out, like, how could I do this? So one, expired listing, or whether or not you found them in a different area, and then just the prices and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll give you a small one on purpose, guys, because I can easily give like $500,000 and up, and the profits are crazy, like high 100,000s. Yeah. This one is still fantastic, and it's a low end, so this tells the story a little bit better. Okay. So the house was on with a realtor for about, I'm going to use round numbers, $220,000.
Okay.
He didn't sell. He had met me when his dad died and was liquidating some property, and the kids, of course, didn't want to do terms. They wanted to sell and be done. He called back and said, look, I got one house left. I'm relocating to South Carolina. It's debt-free. Can you do that owner financing thing? I said, okay, I'll come talk. We sat on his porch and I said, what did you think you would get? This is the magic question for an expired if you sold at full price or while you're on at full price. And he said, yeah, I was going to get around 183, 184 on a 220.
Meaning what were they going to net?
Yeah, net.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want to get them to talk that price right down. I didn't come up with a number. He came up with 183, 184. I said, great. We will pay you 183.9 as if you sold it with a realtor and got your price. We'll pay you 183.9. We'll do that by paying nothing down. We'll pay the closing. There's a transfer tax, tiny, like $1,800. We will pay you $923 a month starting next month for 4 years. That was the deal with the seller. Now that deal's evolved twice since then, but that was the main deal. And then we turned around and put a rent-to-own buyer in there who needed time to enhance credit. That's pretty common. And all 3 paydays, the down payment up front, the monthly spread, and the back end was around $128,000 because of the principal pay down, if you do the math on that.
So take me through, okay, so you went out and found the ultimate renter or lease purchase buyer, right? So where are you searching and finding those people?
It's actually the easier part of the deal, believe it or not. We're online with the Rent Links, the Zillows, all the online portals, like 20 some odd portals that they syndicate to. Because the reason I say it's easier, even pre-COVID, is pre-COVID, the number I used to use was 62 to 82% of the population. If you took a snapshot today, the buyer population, they can't get a loan without some work to be done. Enhanced credit, seasoning if they're self-employed, something needs time. Now, as you guys know, no secret, it's worse. They raise the bar. Jumbos, so we're grabbing $1 million home. Jumbos are crazy. So yes, we found a buyer that there was actually a family of 5 that needed more time to enhance their credit. It was just going to take some time.
All right, Russ, we're talking about how we need more time freedom. We want to stop trading time for money. We want to tell our daughter, no, I don't have to go to work today. What's standing in our way?
Bro, I can tell you this, it's not need, it's want. I absolutely want to say, yes, sweetie, I can stay home. I don't have to be there. But the thing is, I have to take control. If you're like me, you want to take control right now, go to freecall.wealthwithoutwallstreet.com. Jump on a 15-minute call with one of our coaches, and they will walk you through a path that'll help you take the first step into being able to answer that question for the rest of your life, that no, I don't have to go, because I have created time freedom through creating a process and a system that can get me there and get me there faster.
Wow. But no, hold on. You skipped something really important. Out of nowhere, you came up with this 923 number. Help us know how you came up with that.
I'm laughing because our students laugh. 900 would have worked, or 1,000, but then it's open for negotiation. So 923 just sounds like this well thought out metric.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I mean, I'm a big fan of the book, Never Split the Difference, and that's definitely a strategy in there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of going through that example. So I got one. Is it all right that, Joey, if we use my example, let Chris give me some free advice?
I mean, this is Absolutely. This is perfect timing.
Okay.
Come on, bring it up.
I think you know in the deal. I brought this to you. So I have a piece of property that it's a $500,000 house. And somebody I know pretty well owns it. It's been trying to sell. It's been on the market a little over a year. They want out. They owe about $410. So if they got an offer today at $475, they net maybe $450, right, after closing costs and everything. And the mortgage on this thing is $3,200.
Okay.
It's a huge house. It's like 5,500 square feet. And it's in a super nice neighborhood. It's just dated. They moved into it 12 years ago and really haven't been able to do a whole lot since. So I got a 12-year mortgage on this thing. A
12-year-old mortgage.
12-year-old mortgage. Yes.
On a 30-year loan. Yeah.
And so I'm hearing what you're talking about, and my brain is going, okay, how do I go and just buy this, help this person out, get them, where they need to be because they're wanting to build a house and take action on this sort of thing. So tell me.
But it's different. What he's talking about, Chris is talking about an owned free and clear.
That's a free and clear deal. So
it's a great house though to do sandwich on.
Yeah, this would be a sandwich deal. I mean, Joey.
I'm getting hungry over here, guys.
Yeah.
Y'all keep talking about sandwiches and start thinking about peanut butter and jelly. Okay, sorry.
You could actually do on this one, Rush. You could actually do a sandwich, or I don't want to complicate things too much, but or subject to, if you know them, the latter is good. If you don't know them and there's no credibility or trust built up yet, our great strategy is start with a sandwich. The seller gets to know and trust you and see that you paid the mortgage for a year. Then call them up and you can transfer the deed and do a sub two. But let's stick with sandwich if you want.
Yeah, I could do either one. They know me. I think they trust me. I feel pretty confident in it.
Okay, so whether you get the deed or not, let's talk the numbers. Is the 3,200 PITI?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great, because you're going to pass taxes on to the buyer, so that like they're an owner. So let's just say rough numbers. If they said they'd be tickled pink at 475 or 450, whatever the number is, and they owe 410, you lock in that equity. Let's just use 450 for discussion, but there's no number that's wrong here if you get the right term. 450, they got 40 grand equity technically today.
Yep. Right.
Let's just say that. So what you do, our lease purchase is all written, so you just literally fill in the blanks. But you would put in that due on or before the end of the term, and I'll tell you an issue with that in a minute. You're going to say to them, I'll give you 40 grand and I'll pay off your loan, which is going to be a lot less.
Yeah.
So you turn around and put a tenant buyer in there. And if that's a jumbo in your area, I don't know if it is that price range, your tenant buyer over the course of that term is going to come up with 20% for the down payment. And that goes in, that's your payday one, that goes in your pocket.
All right. So let's talk about that. So yeah, locally the jumbo terms are 510.
Oh, so you're under it. Okay.
Yeah. So if I'm, they, by the way, they started the house a year ago at 600 and they've been just coming down. If it was fixed up, it's probably 650, but because it's dated, they've had to drop it.
Okay. Then here's what I would do. I would go to market, from what you're telling me without looking at a picture, I'd probably be on the market conservatively around 550 and then let them know you're leaving money on the table for them to fix it up. Rent-to-own buyers love that.
Yeah. And
then you're gonna probably get a 10% deposit. That's your payday number one. Let's just call it $55K. Especially during COVID, you have buyers in that price range that are stuck. They can't get financing today, but they will over time. Your payday two, I don't know your market, but you're gonna go up a little higher than the 3,200. And you have a buffer in there because whatever the taxes are is their responsibility anyway before we talk spread.
Yep.
So you may go up to what, like 3,500?
I don't know in that area at a 550 house. If you took out taxes, you might go up to 35 or 3750. That's without taxes. So let's just say you have a $500 spread. That's fair.
Okay.
And if you do the math on this, I don't know what the principal pay down is on that PITI, but it's probably pretty good after 12 years.
Yeah, I think they're
pretty far along.
They told me it's like more than 50% at this point.
Wow. All right, this is over six figures, this deal. This is over 100 grand.
Yeah. I ran an example the other day, not know anything, and I came up with about $123,000.
Yeah.
But here's the problem is that how do we find the buyer? That was the only problem I didn't know how to solve. I knew how to do all the other things, sort of.
And it's easy.
I need the buyer.
Yeah, it is. You put an ad out that says, can't get financing during this chaos, 550 home, no banks, no credit to start. You'll get flooded. You won't get to handle the call. So we learned the hard way. We set up videos and automation because you can't talk to everybody. Because you don't want renters. You want the system, the videos, the education to weed out the renters. Even though it says rent own, they'll call still, renters. And so you want true buyers that need time versus renters that have a dream to someday maybe buy. There's a big difference.
Sure.
Because they treat it like their home when they're a buyer needing time. They love it and they thank you for giving them the opportunity. Versus I'm a renter with a hope to buy and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't have any down payment.
And so where am I going to put this ad?
Rent links, Craigslist, your website, rent links and Craigslist. Rent links in particular does syndicate to other sites. But if you email us at support@Smart Real Estate Code, just remind them who you are. My son did one of the modules in our course is all buyers. He'll help you out.
Oh, sweet. So you actually already have a course that teaches morons like me how to do this.
Every one of these things we're talking about, like sandwiches, owner financing, the buyers, they're all a separate module.
Joe, did you see how like his brain skipped? Like when people laugh, it's because their brain skips just a second because he was getting ready to say yes, you are Warren, but his brain was like, don't say that.
If he agrees, he loses.
And so he had to laugh. He had to laugh in order to keep
Perfect.
I appreciate the laugh instead of the yes.
That is amazing.
Well, that's an awesome thing because I'm telling you, Joey,
this is a real life situation. Now, Chris, you left one thing off the buyers list, and that was Facebook Marketplace. Is that on purpose?
That's one.
So that is a decent place to do this. Okay.
It's a very good place. One of our portals syndicates to that automatically, but yeah, that's a great one.
Okay. So this is really, really interesting. The more we learn about real estate on terms, by the way, your book, Real Estate on Your Terms, is probably a great thing people can go out and get. And we're going to actually have a specific page here, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/smart real estate. So if you're listening right now and you're like, oh my goodness, my mind is quivering from all this information, I need to learn more, go to that website, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/smart real estate. You can pick up a copy of his book. You can also get access to these courses we're talking about. And by the way, Chris, would you be willing to come into our community to do a follow-up to this, a live Q&A?
Yeah, I love it. It'd be fun because that's where you can dive into it and kind of rip it apart. And if they want to, even some people can go, if they don't mind listening to me for another hour with my New England accent, the free webinar, and then they'll come to the Q&A with, oh, I heard that and I heard that. Like they'll have more questions.
Oh, so you have a webinar that we could put on that page?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. All right. So Joey, by the time we actually go live with this, I'm going to have tried this out to some degree. I'm going to rent links. I mean, first, I guess I'm going to go watch the course. I'm not going to, I'm going to start with there.
Please start with the course.
And then we go rent links and we go Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. I'm looking for Chris's son and support at Smart Real Estate Coach to send me the info on this to make sure I get fixed up. And then we're going to be able to ask him in the Q&A how I did and whether or not I was able to make the deal work. Because clearly I want to try, is it smart on my part, I would assume, to try to go ahead and see if I can find the buyer before I even lock up the deal? Or what's
No, you don't have to because your deal will be contingent upon you finding your buyer. Unlike wholesaling and other niches where they teach go build a buyer's list, no need. You'll be flooded with buyers. You'll have a buyer's list of 100 within a couple weeks.
I love it. This is great.
This is mind-blowing. But what I was going to say, actually, before I got distracted, is this is exactly why we were talking about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Russ. That was when we were talking about the difference, or the analogy is the peanut butter is infinite banking and the jelly is real estate, because in both cases, we can learn to take over the financing structures in our life. When you become the bank, I mean, that's what I hear is profit. You've showed us how to do that on a lease purchase. You showed us how to do that on an owner finance deal. And now we're even talking about potentially a subject to or what have you. In all cases, it's profit and it's thinking like a bank. So anyways, I just wanted to add that.
That's good. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you, coming on, sharing a really cool idea with our audience, as well as giving me some like free coaching here. Like I love free. That's my love language. But I'm super excited to be able to share this deeper in our Q&A and have others learn about you. So again, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/smart real estate. So you can find more about Chris, his books, his webinars, as he mentioned, as well as be able to sign up and be a part of our community so you can hear the Q&A that he's doing. So thank you again for coming on the show. I know you've got a lot more things going on that we didn't get to go into today, but hopefully we'll be able to draw that out since you're going to be in our community.
Awesome. It was a pleasure, guys.
All right. Thanks as always for listening to our show, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry.